Well, today's Friday in Washington, D.C. I'm at my desk in my office. I know some of you have visited and seen the office. We've tried to put a couple of pictures on the Facebook posts for those of you who haven't, so you can see where I spend many of my hours when I'm in D.C. And today I'm just going to give you a little wrap up of what's been going on in Washington this week. The big news is obviously the Senate releasing the provisions of their repeal of the Affordable Health Care bill. And there weren't a lot of secrets in it. I guess the most secretive thing was it was written in secret, which has angered even the Republicans in the Senate. A number of them were upset that it was done without their input. It was 17 Senate members had input on it. It was kept in the dark until yesterday when it was unveiled or released. The part about not a lot of secrets. What I'm talking about there is it didn't make any improvements or any improvements to speak of over the House bill that had passed a couple of weeks ago. There still will be significant millions of people who will lose their coverage. Although they have a provision in it that says that if you have a pre-existing condition, you'll still get coverage. That may be technically accurate, but the fact of the matter is it won't happen that way because they also allow additional charges to be made on the coverage for people with pre-existing conditions. So while you may the insurance companies may be required to offer it to you, if you can't afford it, it doesn't do you any good. And then there's also waiver provisions in the bill that will allow any governor in any state to waive anything that's in the bill if it were to become law. So a governor in any state could waive the pre-existing condition part, and in that case, you wouldn't be able to buy it even if you could afford it. So it's a bit misleading, and as always, the devil is in the details, and there's no exception here. So the bill still hurts the American people and does nothing to improve the situation. And I think everybody agrees that instead of running around trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act and replace it with something that doesn't provide coverage, what we should be doing is fixing the laws that are in place now. If there's improvements that can be made, that's what we should be doing. Last night I hosted a dinner with Ways and Means members, and that's the committee on which I serve, and it's a committee that has partial jurisdiction over all the health care measures that come up. And my guest speaker was Secretary Diane Dooley, the Secretary of Health and Human Services from California, and she provided some real good insight on what California's doing. And you know, we were the state that rolled out the exchange early. We embraced the Affordable Care Act, and we've reaped some good benefit from that. We've gone from an uninsured rate of over 17% in California to an uninsured rate of less than 7% in California. So she was able to share with my colleagues on the committee some of the positive things, and we had a real good discussion there. And we'll keep working on health care. I'll continue to oppose the House bill and the Senate bill if it in fact does come to fruition, because that's bad for our district, it's bad for our state, it's bad for the country. I also had the great pleasure of attending a ceremony in the House where a number of high school students were recognized from throughout the country for their outstanding work that they're doing in school, both academically, and community-wise, and from a fitness perspective. And we had a young woman in our district, Alana Ruiz from Vallejo, who got a congressional gold medal, and what she accomplished in order to qualify for that was just simply amazing. High academic standards, high physical fitness standards, high community involvement standards. Her work is something that we can all be proud of. And if she's any indication of this future generations, we're going to be in pretty good shape. She is one very impressive young lady, and I was able to, at the ceremony, to place the gold medal over her head, around her neck, and she and her parents were very, very proud of it. Today we're going to vote here in just a little bit on a bipartisan bill to improve health and human service delivery in the country. And that's a bill that came through the Ways and Means Committee, and it will be a bipartisan vote, and it will move us a little bit forward. Also this week we had success in another bipartisan bill that would establish apprenticeship programs for folks who are trying to learn job skills, and that's always important. We should be doing a lot more in that regard. And then just a preview of next week, to stay on the dinner theme. It was Diana Dooley this week. Next week I'm actually cooking, if the vote schedule goes as planned, for a bipartisan group of my colleagues at my house here in Washington. I'm going to barbecue some chicken thighs and make some pasta salad, and we've got a group of 10 members of Congress from different states, 5 Democrats and 5 Republicans, and I think these are the types of get-togethers that build relationships across party lines, and hopefully that will help us in working together to solve some of the problems that are so important to making sure that the people that we represent get the type of representation that they deserve. So hopefully these weekly updates will be welcomed, and maybe we'll learn something from them. And I would appreciate your input, letting me know what you think about these, and what you'd like to hear from me on our Friday wrap-ups. So thanks very much. So I'll see you in the district.